Hey everyone, and welcome to our live discussion of the Switch OLED model. What a surprise this was. Both a surprise and not a surprise, because there have obviously been rumors of a Switch Pro for a while now, but this isn't quite a Switch Pro, and the rumors also had it coming around at the time of E3, if not before, whereas it's obviously following a little bit after E3. So yeah, let's just give a quick rundown before we give our raw reaction. Here's what's new in the Switch OLED. It launches on October 8th as a 7-inch OLED screen, obviously as compared to the LCD screen of the existing one, which is only 6.2 inches. It has enhanced audio, which I'm not quite sure what that means, but apparently it'll sound better. It has a wider kickstand, one which actually has multiple degrees of inclines. You can actually use it on a plane now, for instance, which would be nice. Even though the original trailer had that, but I've tried using it. You can't use the existing Switch on a plane that well. It has Ethernet built into the dock now, although you lose the USB port apparently, which sucks, but I never use it. Still sucks though. It has 64 gigabytes of internal memory built in, which is double the existing Switch. It'll come in 2 colors, and it's compatible with the same existing Joy-Cons. Alright, I think I covered it. Before we get too deep into this, let's just make sure the sound's working okay. So let's go ahead and find out how everyone's doing so we can make sure that is the case. Tris, how are you doing?
Me first. Okay, that was odd. I'm doing well. I'm so
Tris, keep up here!
I'm doing well. I really didn't expect this morning. This was not the news I think any of us were expecting to wake up to right after the holiday.
Yeah, that was very surprising. Chris, were you also surprised by this?
Yes, I was very surprised. I don't exactly know how to feel. I'm excited, but there's a lot of interesting new features and things, but there's not like one new thing to really define this as like a quote-unquote Switch Pro, and I think that's because it isn't a Switch Pro. Really, it's interesting, so I'm excited to talk about it some more.
Tom, what do you think?
Well, it's...
Did you shave your beard in excitement?
Yeah, the beard just was like, wow, it just hopped off my face. But I expect, more on a Wednesday or something rather than a Tuesday right after the holiday. But it is technically almost right on cue with a Nintendo hardware announcement after the E3 or something like that. So
right. Yeah, I think the biggest thing about this is, as Chris is saying, it isn't really a Switch Pro. It is not the thing that was quite... I mean, there are elements of what was rumored are here. The bigger screen, I think the kickstand was rumored at some point, but a lot of people start focusing in on the 4K, and I think that may have started with Bloomberg, I believe, and, and as part of that, it would presumably have, stronger horsepower. But no, Tris, you just posted a whole video going over, these tech specs are the same otherwise. Battery life's the same, yeah.
It is essentially the same Switch, but if you play in handheld or tabletop mode, the screen's a bit better and the audio quality's a bit better. And the dock has a LAN port. That's basically it. The chip for the CPU and GPU is the same. Output's 1080p on docked mode, 720p in handheld. It's a slight upgrade to the main Switch. That's basically it, and that's okay.
Yeah, the weird thing is, yeah, so so objectively, this is a good upgrade. Like, it's a better version of the Switch. There's, as far as I can tell, there's nothing worse about it, minus the lack of, or the loss of a third USB port. The downside is, for me at least, I'm one who plays 99% on the TV. The only exceptions are when a game makes heavy use of the touchscreen, like Mario Maker or Game Builder Garage. I actually prefer using handheld mode for those. Otherwise, I'm playing on the TV constantly. There is nothing here for someone like me, except for possibly the addition of an Ethernet port built in, which is a good thing. That'll hopefully make online better for most people, but you can get that as an accessory now too. So for me, like, the lack of 4K or the lack of more horsepower, the fact that all the existing games are going to look the exact same, is a little disappointing, because there's no reason for me to own this, and that's totally fine. Like, I'll just stick with my current Switch probably, and people who haven't picked one up yet will get a better version of the Switch. So I'm happy for them. It's just, yeah, for one who's now we're coming up with 5 years of the Switch now. It's like, oh man, we gotta go a little bit longer before we get that horsepower increase that we've been hoping for, But I think do you three use handheld more often than me, I suppose, or?
yeah, I definitely use it more often. Even still, though, it's kind of, if you think about it, it's like a reverse Switch Lite, where the Switch Lite was just like, more of the low-cost handheld model. This is like a higher-cost handheld model. And yeah, it is disappointing where for TV users, like, the only thing is, like, if you have one of these, you can have Ethernet already on your current Switch model. So it's just kind of too bad. I'd rather it have even a higher price point and have some updated tech specs.
I will say though, the dock looks very nice. I like
It
the
does.
new white kind of redesign of it. But on that point though, Tris, since you did the video, do you know is the console itself or the system any bigger, or is it the same size?
It is, it is 0.1 inches wider.
Okay.
So basically, I'll grab my Switch for comparison. So you have your Switch. I'm gonna turn it so it doesn't reflect, and you essentially slightly wider. Like my hand showing is already wider than it will actually be. Like it's not that much. But
Yeah.
it's enough that the press release had to detail it probably won't fit into certain Labo things. And
I
I don't. It
I need
probably
my
won't
Labo
fit super
VR. Labo VR better work.
It probably won't fit super comfortably in the original docks. It'll work, I imagine, and we know all the Joy-Cons still attached to it. So, in terms of like size, it is almost exactly the same. You probably won't even notice the difference unless you actually put them side by side.
Right. Yeah, and that's actually kind of what I was expecting. Like, it is largely the same form factor as the existing Switch. They just made the screen bigger and upgraded the quality, which I want to stress, even though this product may not be ideal for me, like in terms of just the way I play Switch, like this is a good upgrade. Having an OLED screen is going to look nice. Having those deeper blacks, you know, as compared to the softer, more gray type blacks you'll get on the existing Switch's LCD screen. But yeah, it's interesting how similar it is. Like, it almost feels like a product replacement for me. And it's going to be, as far as we can tell, sitting alongside the existing Switch, just at a higher price point, which I think I forgot to mention. It's $350. So that's $50 more than the existing Switch. And I guess if this were your first Switch, do you think you would pick up this, or would you save the $50 and spend it on a game or something and get a previous version?
That's
I
true.
think
We
I
didn't
would
learn of
pick
any
up-
kind of bundle.
I mean, I would probably get this, but it is interesting because when it comes to the Switch Pro or the next Switch, I was expecting like the third piece of the Triforce kind of. You know, there's the Switch Lite, the normal Switch, and then the Switch Pro. This is sort of like halfway in between because honestly, to me, it just feels like a new. It feels like what like the soft reboot or like the new kind of iteration of the Switch was. I think in 2019 or whenever that was, where they sort of quietly released kind of a new, slightly better Switch. This sort of feels like that, but just a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we actually know why now they didn't announce it at E3, because it isn't the thing people were expecting. You know, more horsepower, things that would really get people excited, particularly existing users, and also it was speculated that it needed to be shown at E3 so developers could show off their games running on it, and we now know why you didn't need to.
Exactly. And I think that's an important thing to know too, where because it isn't doing any sort of like hard upgrade to any of the games, this is not a new 3DS situation. It's not something that's gonna divide the user base, and I think that might be why it isn't something that's drastically different, because because the Switch Lite already slightly divides the user base a little bit, because unless you want to pay a fair amount of extra money for specific games, for different like accessories just to play them, I don't think they want to cause a bigger divide, because I think that was kind of the downfall with the 3DS, the new 3DS. None of those games that were exclusive did well, and I don't think they want to do that again, where they're making things that are exclusive to the more powerful thing, or clearly runs better on the new powerful thing, because people just aren't going to get it unless they have that one then. So I think it's a case where any sort of more powerful Switch, a 4K Switch in big quotes, that would be more so the actual successor to the Switch, the next generation, even if it's a Wii to Wii U kind of step. So
Oh, don't mention that.
more of like in terms of like a half step where it's clearly based off the previous thing. But yeah,
Right.
I definitely think that what we have here with the Switch OLED, we probably won't see another one like this. I don't think we'll get another revision before the end of the life cycle, but unless it's kind of like what we had in 2019, where it's like a slight touch up just to make it a little bit better.
I think you brought up a few points there. I think it being a half step is even that might be a little generous, but I think you're not. I mean, this is really like run line in Nintendo's typical revisions. Like they often do just a physical, like more focus on the physical elements rather than anything internal. like the DS Lite, for instance, and the bigger 3DS or 3DS XL. We've seen this time and time again, even with Nintendo's own console line, where they'll redesign the externals, like with the NES and Super NES. The internals remain the same, and that seems to be pretty much the case here as well. And so it's not really that surprising. Like the thing that kind of I think threw us off a bit were the were the rumors, but also the fact that it wasn't just rumors. I've seen some chat being like, well, that's what you get for like believing in, the rumors. I mean, I think a lot of people just kind of expected it, but that's where the industry seems to be going. We've had the PlayStation Pro, we've had upgraded versions of the other, other consoles. And the Switch is, like, it's had a full console lifespan nearly at this point. So it just kind of seemed logical. But yeah, on the other hand, Triss, like, it is kind of nice that, hey, they're maintaining, like, it's the same system. You're not getting anything, you don't need anything here, Like, It really does seem more geared toward those, entering the ecosystem for the first time, or maybe their Switch is starting to wear down and they need to, upgrade it, and hey, this is the good option. And it does look sleek. Like, I don't want to be too down on this thing. This thing is like, it's a little sleek, it's a sleek looking little baby right there. Like the dock, I think as Chris mentioned, like that thing looks awesome. That looks so much better than the existing dock. It looks like it just fits like a glove, like a little, like, I don't know, a little sci-fi-ish like glove, as opposed to the cheap POS that we currently have.
Yeah, that would look really good next to a PS5, I think.
Yeah, exactly,
awesome.
right. Like the Switch, I think it looked cool when it came out, but I feel like it kind of quickly got dated too, just because like the bezel, right? Yeah, the bezel, like, looks huge now compared to your phone or like any other device you have. Whereas this one's like, it's starting to look a little bit closer, like a little bit sleeker now, and I think it's a good overall design, and it is much more usable. Like having a kickstand that actually functions is awesome. Like the previous kickstand, like it held like almost a 90-degree angle. You can't use that; it's unusable. So, and then that's not even to mention the fact like it was easy to just snap off too, which. Yeah. Real quick, sorry, before we move on, got a couple super chats. Eric Flapjack says, donated, thank you, and says, but would Andre get it if it came out with a Stone Race FX Special Edition? Oh, you know it, Eric. Of course it'd be there. And then EvBro22 says, the original Switch is a 3DS, the Switch Lite is a 2DS, OLED model is 3DS XL, so if we get a more powerful Switch, it'll be the new 3DS. I think that's pretty much spot on. Like,
That's a good point.
That's a great. I think the next revision of the Switch will be the major upgraded version, and who knows when the heck that's going to be at this point now. I think it's at least a year out from now, if even that. So
yeah.
I'm gonna say for all we know, maybe Nintendo did want to do that, but had trouble just allocating chips with the huge chip shortages.
Yeah, that is the thing. There is such a huge shortage in the market right now that a better GPU processor, or just in general a better chip to make the Switch better, would be way too expensive to do right now. That I don't think it would have been worth doing. I think no matter what price point they set it at, well, I can't say no matter, because if it was like 500, I'm sure it'd be fine. But with Nintendo selling it, it would have been sold at a loss, and I don't think they would have made much money off of it to put in doing that. Right now, at least. Say in like 2 years, maybe the market gets better. I could totally see them doing it then. But I definitely think right now, upgrading the chip in the Switch to make it 4K compatible just wasn't something feasible right now because of the market.
Right.
That's possible. I mean, when their price creeps up too, maybe Nintendo thinks that at a certain price range, like they don't want to be being seen with PlayStation and Xbox. Maybe they figure parents won't spend that much on their kids. They don't love their kids that much or something. It's a bit different when you got adults buying it for themselves, maybe.
Real quick, another super chat from Taker610 who says, ashamed, but I'll buy it for the white dock alone. It does. I mean, I think the entire thing looks sleek. I love the color scheme. The moment I saw it, I'm like, it's Metroid. It's a Metroid Switch.
Yeah.
And that's super cool. Like, I'm loving the kind of color scheme they got going on there. It feels, you can tell at a glance what it is.
Yeah.
I just know it's gonna be like the original Switch where I can only get black Joy-Cons, and this one I want like the white Joy-Cons, and only the original colors will be available when I try to if I try to get it.
Yeah, it's odd that they didn't show off the other color scheme of the Switch, right? The Switch OLED. Like, because we know there's two colors, I believe.
It's not odd. I'll say it'll look the same if they do that. It's
Yeah.
white,
It's a neon,
Yeah.
right? Yep.
Yeah, it is the neon blue and neon red that we had from the original Switch. So I think they purposely didn't show it off because that's the go-to marketing for the main or normal original Switch. They didn't want it to look confusing or to get mixed up in there, I think.
Right. So KUDie627 says, new 3DS XL did vastly improve the glasses-free 3D with the eye tracking. Switch OLED doesn't offer a huge upgrade like that. And that absolutely is a fair point. Like, it doesn't have that one big thing. Like, Switch or DS Lite made it so you can actually see the screen. Yeah, new 3DS XL or new 3DS rather, yeah, added the eye tracking, so made the 3D better. Like, they had fundamentals that enhanced the base design or the base concepts of the system. And I would actually arguably say the closest thing we have in this case is actually the kickstand. That's probably the biggest improvement in terms of like a single element. Myself, I prefer having the bigger screen and OLED, for instance, but I think the kickstand actually does increase like the the chance that people actually use it. Not that in itself is worth a $50 upgrade, but yeah.
And I've seen some people like wondering if there'll be like other features to this that they just didn't talk about yet, and I don't think so.
No.
Honestly, because when they're marketing something like this, you need to make the key points known to get people to want to buy it and pre-order it and kind of clear the slate so they know they'll get it. It's not the same as like a game where you hide a special feature until near release to drum up hype. When you're doing a console like this, you need to make the features of it known like as soon as you reveal it, because less and less people are going to know about it with each time they show it off. So with this initial reveal of the Switch OLED, if they didn't show, I don't know, driftless Joy-Cons, then the Joy-Cons are probably the same.
Well,
honestly, we know the Joy-Cons are supported all the way through.
Go ahead, Tom.
I think with the class action lawsuit, whatever it is, they might not be mentioning that call.
Yeah, there's no way they'll mention improved Joy-Cons, or at least not in that way. I was gonna mention it though. I do hope that they actually do. I do hope the Joy-Cons have been fixed because, dear God, they need to be. But I will say it is nice in an overall sense that they are using the same Joy-Cons. They kind of expected they would. They even showed them using like Ring Fit Adventure in the playing Ring Fit Adventure in the trailer, showing you can play the same games, minus possibly some Labo interruptions with the slightly different dimensions. But it seems like with it being that close to the original in size, I think even most Labo games are probably going to work fine. The weirdest one might actually be Labo VR because of the larger screen size, which means parts of the screen are going to be outside your visible area, which could be a problem with VR. So
yeah. I do see some people bringing up the fact that we haven't mentioned yet the fact that it has 64 gigabytes of internal storage.
I mentioned it. We didn't talk about.
You didn't talk about. Yeah. So it has 64 gigabytes of internal storage instead of what the original Switch has, which is 32. Yep. But a portion of that is already used by the system memory itself. This seems like it's 64 gigabytes, and you have access to all of that. So it's probably slightly more than 64, but the system storage is somewhere else. The thing is, because so if this is to be your first Switch, that is fantastic. That is a good upgrade. But if you're like many of us here, where you've had a Switch for several years now, you hit that limit a while ago. Yeah. So you got SD cards,
like 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabyte SD card or something. Yeah.
Well, terabyte. Yeah.
Terabyte, yeah. A gigabyte will be. I could store less than I could before. Awesome.
Yeah. So most people probably got some sort of micro SD card to expand the storage, and both versions of the Switch go up to 2 terabytes. In terms of the micro SD storage.
Right.
I think they make micro SDs that are bigger, but the Switch won't support them. So this supports the same amount. So having more internal storage doesn't actually change too much for existing Switch owners. I guess if you want to make the upgrade and you want to store, I don't know, maybe all the pictures and videos only on there and then save all the games for the micro SD, then woohoo. But it doesn't actually change too much for existing Switch owners.
I am actually very excited for the 64 gigabytes because I have never used a micro SD card on my Switch. I rely
Wow.
solely on.
You're doing. I
whatever.
think isn't that the oh, this is probably before your time. What did Nintendo call it? The sorting the refrigerator style of memory management. That's what they called it on the Wii. It's like, yeah, this, it's like resorting your refrigerator.
That's about right. Yeah. So I should either get this or I should just spend $50 on a micro SD card.
It's a tough question.
Pretty often. And they have a Nintendo branded one, so you can get a nice, like, a nice Superstar themed one with, like, what is that one? The 256 gigabytes? Or you can get a nice blue shell from Mario Kart.
There we go. Real quick, just some super chats we need to catch up on. Jamal STL donated, thank you, and says the Ethernet port is much needed. Yeah, I mean that should have been there from the get-go. Like, that should have always been there. So it's nice that we'll have more people taking advantage of it, which should, in theory, improve general, online connections in general. But the thing is, there's so many existing switches out there on Wi-Fi. It's gonna be a while before we notice any, significant difference, unless you play with a friend group that only has the new Switch. Real quick, and Scott2781 said that OLED panel will look amazing, gathering dust in the dock. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Eric H donated and says, thank you, Eric, for the donation, and says, reaction seems from happy to unimpressed, overall more impressed. What do you predict regarding pre-orders? I think hard to get. Oh, 100% gonna be hard to get. Like, it's going to sell well. Yeah, I mean, it probably, I don't think it's going to sell as well as a proper Pro would have been, because I think the issue is, issue in quotes, like issue for some people, is that there's not a lot of reason to buy one. Like myself, I'm hoping we'll get one for review, but if we don't, or, even if I don't end up without one, I probably won't buy this myself, just because I won't be using it for anything, or rather, I wouldn't need it, the things it does. But I have a bigger SD card already. I primarily play docked, and yeah, that's basically it. Although I will admit that the look of it is sleek enough that I'm like, maybe, but probably not.
I want to draw attention to what one of my friends in chat, Hawk, said, because it essentially summarizes what you were saying pretty well. We're in the XL phase of the console life now.
Right.
In the console life now. It's going to be a few years before a genuine performance boost.
It's just
and that really does.
That it took this long to get to the XL version.
Yeah. This made me, if anything, the time the Switch Lite came out is kind of when, if you kind of look back at like the 3DS lifespan, the time the Switch Lite came out would have been around the time the XL would have, and now would have been the time for, something bigger. So it's drawn out a little bit, but what was it, December or January? Just few months back, where Nintendo says we're only halfway to the Switch's lifespan.
Right.
So
I'm more and more believing that by the day at this point. Like it's still selling, and this will, even though it's not going to change how you play games at all, like it will just, it will give it like a little bit more of a boost to the Switch lifespan. As insignificant it may be, it will give it something. And hey, Top Dog, by the way, Top Dog's in chat.
I was gonna point that out.
Can't miss Top Dog.
It's gonna be interesting because before in the past, it's a lot easier for existing owners to go out and buy it, but here, like we're all kind of, it's gonna be more for new Switch owners. So you won't have like everyone buying two necessarily. I wonder how it'll do and continue pushing the Switch along. So it is still some room. It's like, what is it? Not at 100 million Switches yet, right? So it might help boost it to there, but it won't be like the huge surge like before in the past where everyone's just picking this up as their second Switch.
Right. Yeah, I have definitely seen some people being like, my Switch is cracked. Like, this is a great opportunity for me to upgrade, or it has some other flaw with it. And there will definitely be some of that. It just won't be... I don't think there'll be a huge wave of people who currently own the Switch buying it, but maybe I'm wrong, So I've seen a lot of people saying that $350 I think is a good price, and it's not unreasonable. Like, yeah, it's a better version of the existing Switch. Obviously, I would prefer if they had just replaced the existing Switch at the same price, which I suspect will be the game plan in the future. I think Nintendo is preparing for that. For that happening someday, where once sales eventually do slow down, well, hey, there we go, just drop the price $50. It's at the original price of the Switch, and you can reduce that one's price down to, I don't know, $250 or something. So
yeah.
And my guess would be that they're eventually going to phase out the original Switch. Like, this will be the replacement one of these days, and it's probably going to happen once they reduce that price.
Yeah,
Mhm.
this definitely seems like you were talking about a second ago, Andre. Like it's gonna help prolong the Switch's lifespan, and I think this is going to gradually become kind of the new look of the Switch.
Mhm.
I get the feeling just kind of the look of this and the white kind of form factor. I kind of feel like it's going to become the new face of Switch. Yeah. And so I think great. That's awesome.
Oh no, you're 100% right. We're not going to see the old Switch again. Like this is it. This is the Switch we'll be seeing in trailers from now on. Yeah. Real quick. Oh, go ahead.
I was thinking about this. Actually, kind of reminds me of the Wii U originally, where there was they at launch had the basic white Wii U with what was it, like not even 10 gigabytes of storage, and then the premium deluxe one, the black Wii U, that had 32 gigabytes of storage, and then they very clearly, like a few months later, completely phased out the anyone but the black Wii U. They're like, no, what? We never did one with less than 10 gigabytes. No, that never happened.
Oh my god, yeah, that was amazing. That reminded me of the original like Xbox 360 launch, which didn't even have a hard drive. Like you had to buy a hard drive for one of the models, and you wanted to store anything, basically.
Dang.
Good times. Yeah. Lewis says OLED has always looked good way before Dolby Vision. It'd be amazing if they actually had like a Dolby Vision approved screen on a Switch. Yeah, the OLED, like, it's gonna look great. Like, your games are gonna look better than ever. Minus the weird side effect of the fact with the screen actually being bigger, it actually will make some games look a little worse. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you know, which already runs like a sub 720p resolution dramatically at points. Things like that may not hold up quite as well like on the 7-inch screen, but maybe the OLED quality will offset that. But yeah, so I think most games are gonna end up looking dramatically improved on the system. I mean, maybe not dramatically, improved on the system. So
I find the timing funny. It was like they were waiting for the Vita to completely die out, and then it was like only PSP, and Nintendo's just like, I can't wait any longer. Here's.
Yeah, well, speaking of timing, they just had a system update yesterday, 12.1.0, which was all about memory management, where if your Switch's memory is full, then you can uninstall or basically delete data for an existing game as you download new data for that game, so you don't have to like swap things around like Chris would do on his 32 gigabytes. So it's funny that it's like they just gave you this brand new update to help offset memory restrictions. Like, oh hey, here's a new Switch with double the memory anyway. So
it reminds me of Mario Party, how they did that Super Mario Party update. And then we were all thinking, oh, okay, there's probably not going to be a new Mario Party game. And then boom.
New Mario Party.
I was sure it was testing for that.
That's true. You still knew, yeah.
Yeah, we should have believed like Triss. We're like, no, this is it.
I had hope it confirmed it.
We could have had a whole like discussion 12 hours in advance yesterday. It's like, does this mean the new Switch is on the way?
Yeah, exactly. Next time Nintendo releases an update for something, we got to be on high alert, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, no kidding, right? Like, what could this mean? We got like, dig in deep.
Time to become conspiracy theorists.
Bingo.
So I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think something worth pointing out that we haven't touched on too much is the fact that they're really, and too bad we don't have Joey here for this, they're really using this to push Metroid Dread, which is fantastic. You mentioned already that the Joy-Cons are very clearly like Metroid Dread themed in terms of like the color palette, which is nice. Launching with it seems tied into that, but it's really nice that it's launching with it. I mean, that was the first game they showed in the trailer for it, so they're very clearly trying to get people excited for that. And when you consider the original Switch launched with the Breath of the Wild, like, it's really nice to see that they're really trying to give this attention to Metroid. And I mean, hey, maybe Metroid fans have been like boycotting the Switch until they got a new game, and this is what's gonna finally get them one. I don't know.
Vanilla Soup says, "Where's Joey? And did you hurt him?" Yeah, so Joey just unfortunately woke up like literally seconds before we started doing this discussion, and we only had the frame ready for 4 people. So I'm sure we'll have Joey. I'm sure Joey will be giving his thoughts in some way soon, if not already on Twitter. But yeah, that's actually a great point, Triss. Like this actually kind of shows the confidence Nintendo has in Metroid. I think they understand that they have something. They might have something special here. Like this might be a great chance to really help Metroid reach a broader audience. Like the 2D versions of Nintendo games tend to sell like remarkably well. Like, you know, Mario, for instance. Like the 2D games outsell the 3D ones consistently. So this might be the chance that Metroid has to maybe reach a broader demographic, and tying together with a new Switch is genius for two reasons. One, you're gonna get the Metroid fans on board. The ones who may already own a Switch, they're gonna be picking it up, because they want that cohesion. It looks like a slick version of the Switch, and it ties in with the game. And then it's going to appeal, I think, to anyone who's seen the Metroid Dread trailer who doesn't currently own a Switch, and here's a great opportunity to pick one up. Particularly for maybe even old school Metroid fans, like ones who grew up with Metroid on NES or Super Metroid, ones who maybe haven't followed along even with the handheld games, like this is the first console Metroids or 2D Metroids in Super Metroid, and they could be reaching a lot of like old school fans who maybe lapsed, and maybe they'll come back with this.
Yeah, they do launch the exact same day, the console and the game, so that'd be pretty cool. Imagine a special edition or something like that.
Ooh.
Fingers crossed, but probably won't happen. But it's definitely tied together for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well,
on that note, I was just going to say it's a bit longer window between the announcement to release, it feels like, compared to other times in the past. And maybe that is to, I was mentioning before, to like slow down the amount of people buying PlayStation 5s, just to have that dangling carrot out there to try to wait for over the summer for Switch fans.
Mm-hmm.
And also be ready for the holiday season to have a bigger impact. What are you guys' thoughts on, should they have just released it sooner, or is it better with Metroid?
I mean, if we look back at how like the 3DS iterations were released or when they released after being announced, and same thing with the Switch Lite, it was around the July to August area, and then released in September. But what big game is Nintendo releasing in September this year? WarioWare, which neat. And I don't want to downplay WarioWare. That is a great game, and it looks exciting. But I think they wanted to save this specifically for their next big, clearly heavily marketed title, which is Metroid. So I think this makes sense to wait a little bit of extra time for then. Even though we learning about it a bit longer than we normally would from Nintendo before it actually releases, I think this actually works in its favor.
I actually did a whole chart a few months ago showing the time of announcement for a Switch revision or for a system revision from Nintendo to its release. And I forget, I think the average time was like between like 4 to 6 weeks. I forget exactly. So this is definitely on the longer scale, on the longer end of things. This is 3 months in advance. Right? July, August, September, yeah. And that's actually pretty...
Almost exactly.
Yeah, almost to the day. And yeah, that's substantial. That's actually unusual for Nintendo as far as my memory is concerned. I wish I had my chart here to confirm. But yeah, so that's actually a little surprising, and it's actually a good thing. Like, the reason why I think Nintendo tends to have the release close to the announcement is because they don't want people to stop buying the existing Switch in order to, they don't want them to hold off or like delay the purchase. But in this case, it might be that they realize it's not enough of an upgrade to like really hold off if you really want to Switch now. Like, you're not really missing out on a ton, and it's still cheaper. But also, it is just good too, I think, just to know about it in advance. Like, you now have the information to make that decision if you want. Like, I actually appreciate that. It's like, okay, I'm not going to feel screwed if I buy a Switch, a few weeks from now, and then have had a new model announced shortly after. Like, there's enough of a gap here, I feel like, that's going to satiate most people. I'm sure, some people still be upset, but there's always people that are upset. But I think it actually works out fine in this case.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a big, that's right before Christmas too, This is going to be a big holiday seller. Like, that's just a month before Black Friday, so... Yeah,
as long as they have stock, right? Either way, maybe they thought with supply being low, I guess, for current Switches even, I believe like they're still even hard to get.
A little bit, yeah.
Doing that would be fair for people in advance. Like, I mean, maybe it'll ease some of the stock issues they have currently.
Real quick, Bushin Ryu Cat says, not 100% sure, but near the end of the OLED trailer, I'm sure I saw the Switch logo light up on the dock. Confirm? Alright, hold on. I've got the trailer right here, everyone. I'm gonna put it on the screen. I'm looking at the dock. Alright, it was near the end, right? I'm a minute 59 in, so I'll keep an eye out for it. Show us that dock! Oh no, that's Ring Fit. That's not the dock. I know the rest of you can't see it right now. More. The chat can. Yeah, the other three of you can't.
I'm jumping in.
I pulled up our video.
Okay, nice.
To follow along.
So they still have the power light on the side.
Okay.
I'm still not seeing anything light up on the. That would be like sick though if.
That would be so cool.
I mean, an easy way to do it would be just have it be a transparent window and have the screen light up. And no, it's reflective. No, that's not lighting up. It's
that's
reflective.
just reflecting it.
Yep. That would have been really cool. I think actually I love my idea. Like if they just made that transparent window, then you could just have the Switch screen itself light up behind the dock, and there you go. You know. Anyways.
Yeah.
So
I will say one thing that's kind of caught my eye, just kind of looking through things and considering. I've been sitting here thinking about like all the different releases for the Switch that we've had at this point. It seems like right now, as Chris mentioned, maybe we'll get a special edition for Metroid or something. It seems like right now it is just the basic Switch OLED and that comes with the 2 different sets of Joy-Con. But this does make me feel bad for people that want this and then, like me, have special edition Switches like the Animal Crossing one or the new Mario one that just came out earlier this year. Because it's not like they're re-releasing those as an OLED model. They're not, unfortunately.
I mean, that's why they're special edition, Tris. Would it be special? They
Well,
re-released it.
Fair.
Yeah, I get that, but I mean, I think the fact that the Joy-Cons at the very least carry over, and it's still like a perfectly workable system that doesn't really lose a whole lot by comparison. I don't think it's as damaging as, or damaging isn't even the right word, but maybe as disappointing as that could be. You know, like it's still a perfectly viable system. It's gonna play the same games just fine. So it would be cool though, I guess, if they did re-release. You know, if you wanted like Animal Crossing, haven't picked it up yet. You know, like oh hey, I can get a better version of it now. So. Top Dog points out something that is perhaps it stood out to me too. The biggest point of the trailer: bumper balls confirmed for Mario Party Superstars. Do we know about that one before, Tris? Or?
We did know about bumper balls. We just didn't see it in gameplay. But now we did.
Now we did. Yep, love it. Bumper balls. They know their market. See, that's what I'm saying. They're targeting lapsed gamers from 20 years ago. The ones who grew up with bumper balls.
Perfect.
On the original Mario Party. So, all right. Are we gonna get a Switch Pro? Are you going to buy one? Chris, what do you think?
I mean, it's hard to just say I'll spend $350 on this, but I really want to. Honestly, we'll see. I'm glad I have some time to think about it.
Yeah. So are you leaning, if you had to choose right now, are you leaning toward yes or no?
Yes.
All right, Tom, how about you?
That's a loaded question because this is Switch OLED. Now, I would buy a Switch Pro.
Oh, sorry, did I say Switch Pro? My bad.
Yeah.
It's force of habit.
But Switch OLED, I think I'm going to wait a bit before getting it. I'd much rather put that money into like a Xbox Series X or something like that at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can buy you like what a few months of or like a year's worth of Game Pass for.
Yeah, or that.
But,
Tell me, Tris.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Tom here, where I do think I'll get it at some point, but not right away. I'll probably wait a bit. I would rather put that money towards towards one of the other next-gen consoles currently, like an Xbox Series X or PS5, just to keep up with those. Because I have my Animal Crossing Switch that I only just got a few months ago because I had to replace it, but there's not really much reason for me to get the OLED. Yeah, it looks good, or it looks better rather, for handheld play and tabletop play, and I do play that way like a good half the amount of time. But I never had a bad experience playing handheld or tabletop with what I have now. Not enough, at least, that would make me want to immediately jump on the upgrade.
I will say, actually, to that point, I actually was just using tabletop mode about a week or so ago. We're playing some Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics on in tabletop form, like as a board game. And I was wishing, like, I wish the screen were a little bit bigger, you know. And here we go. So yeah, I mean, this actually is a perfect use case for a game such as that, where you have multiple people surrounding the system. I mean, I think I almost wish like they would go even bigger. You know, I guess they haven't done an official XL model yet, so they could still do that. Like, I want like a proper like full tablet option for the Switch. You probably have to have a completely different dock, so you wouldn't have this giant brick in front of your TV or something. Al Bundy donated and says, WTF is on the Series X, not a single game. First of all, that's objectively wrong. Second of all, one of those games that is on it is Rare Replay, which is like 30 plus games in one. Yep.
I haven't been able to play that yet, so that right there.
You should.
I don't think that's exclusive to that though, but yeah.
It's not
It's on
exclusive,
Xbox
no.
One, but I don't have Xbox
Yeah.
One. It's not on the PC version of Game Pass.
There are gonna be no exclusive games on this Switch OLED either, Tris. So
That's true.
mitigates their
That's true.
point.
And to be clear though, like if I didn't have a Switch, I would definitely be choosing the
Oh, yeah.
OLED model.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I guess any answer. Yeah, if I didn't have a Switch, I would 100% spend the extra, get the better version of the Switch. Yeah. As one who, as I said, doesn't really use handheld mode much, I probably don't see myself picking it up. I mean, there's a small chance I would. I mean, there's always a possibility that I would, like, hand my current Switch off to someone else, like a family member or something. But yeah, like, gut reaction is, probably not, just because, like, the things that they've made better, I would barely take advantage of. But with that said, I do think all the changes are very good. It's a better product overall. I think it largely justifies its price point, and yeah, I mean, yeah, and it looks slick. It looks cool. Like it's going to be awesome playing Metroid on that thing. So, Bush and Rio Cat donated $5. Thank you, and says, "Do you know anyone who got the KFC console? Okay, I'm hungry again."
Did that come out?
Was that? Could you actually pick that
Did
up?
that come out?
Man, now I want a KFC.
I don't know if it came out or not.
I don't think it did. Yeah.
I would get it.
Oh, I would too. Like, if it just, like, yeah. Could it just, like, does it just, how does it even work? Like, if it could just, like, somehow, like, if it's, like, Wonka Vision, it could just, like, beam KFC to my house through this console. That'd be amazing. I love KFC. I like Popeyes more, but, yep. All right. Is there anything about the Switch OLED that we haven't talked about yet that we should bring up?
Maybe. I think we touched upon it a little bit, but the better speaker quality for playing in handheld and tabletop. I don't think that translates to anything better when playing in TV mode.
Right. No.
And I don't know if it'll translate well if you put headphones into it. I actually don't know if that'll change anything. But
Probably not.
I mean, it's good to see that they're trying to increase the quality, because that is something that I've noticed is not the best. There's a couple times where the sound quality definitely sounds a bit low when playing in handheld mode, so it's nice to see that they're enhancing that. But yeah.
Good upgrade, but yeah, probably if you have decent headphones, those will be better.
Yeah.
And also, it doesn't really affect when using it on a TV, but it's nice that it's there, but it's hard to think of that as too much of a selling feature, unless maybe you're a huge audiophile or something. But
I mean, if you, the thing is, I think even, I guess, I suppose, yeah.
like even then, you're gonna have super good headphones.
Yeah, you have headphones, exactly, right. Yeah, I mean, I can't complain. It's a good improvement. I mean, like, I've had zero issues with the existing Switch's, like, speakers. Like, I found, like, they're surprisingly loud enough in most cases. But hey, they made it sound better. Great, that's awesome. I'll take it. It will be interesting to do a comparison. Like, how much better does it actually sound? And like put it up to our like microphone and like try to show people. We got a bunch of super chats all of a sudden.
Wow.
Taker610 donated. Thank you. Says White Series times $400. Or wait, sorry, White Series X $400 digital edition. Anyone?
I'd probably wanted the DVD or Blu-ray, whatever it is, playing version, but a white Series X would look nice.
Yeah, that would. I actually totally parsed that incorrectly. Yeah, that would be nice. I actually have the physical or the non-digital version. But yeah, I think that actually would look pretty nice. I like the smaller size of it too. The Nerd Porio Lifeform says, I'm waiting for a donated, thank you, and says, I'm waiting for a Zelda 2 remake. Would have been perfect to announce it exclusive to new OLED Switch. The only way I would buy that new model, LOL. I don't get how the two are connected, but you know what? I'm fine with that. Zelda 2, that is a game that is like ripe for a remake, right? Like that would be such an interesting remake. Like they could do kind of like how they've updated like Metroid, but I think it would be amazing that they leaned hard into that, like completely reinvent that game, maintain the RPG mechanics, and have it still and like make the overworld be like an actual like 3D place. That could be really cool.
Play better too.
A couple things on that. I was thinking, like, after Mercury Steam was done with Metroid Dread, which they probably are already now, if they are taking that 2D expertise to Zelda 2, but there is a developer that would be better for Zelda 2, and seeing how a nearby developer that they came from, Way Forward, is working on a reboot of Advance Wars, And now Yacht Club Games is working on more than one game. If they were given the reins to work on a Zelda 2 remake, that would be amazing and something they would be the best suited for, considering how much that inspired Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great point.
Wow.
Love it. Yeah, I think it should happen. I hope that Nintendo works more with like, indie developers too. Like especially like for Zelda 2,
Yes.
like yeah, let them go nuts with it.
Cadence of Hyrule proved they can work really, really well
Exactly.
with indie developers.
And Cadence of Hyrule is probably closer to an actual Zelda title than Zelda 2 is. So
Absolutely.
the Canon donated $2, thank you, and says any word on battery life. Tris, what? Yeah.
Yep. So the battery life is exactly the same as the normal Switch. So it's 4.5 to 9 hours, I believe. And they both give the same example of Breath of the Wild will last about 5.5 hours.
Right.
Granted, that's like out of the box. If your Switch is like 4 years old,
Oh, yeah.
its battery life is probably
We're not-
dwindled down quite a bit.
We're
so-
not getting 5 hours of battery life these days on our Switch, so. Top Dog says, I bet features that people want, like folders and themes, are going to be exclusive to the Switch OLED. And then they put a winky face. Oh my god, that would start a poop storm. People would be very upset if you had to buy the new Switch to get those features. So
Man.
I don't think we're ever gonna get those features at this point. So, Eating Control V says it is screen resolution the same, but the screen is bigger. That's exactly it. Same resolution, bigger screen, which by and large will be better, but it technically could make some games look worse because you're just stretching the existing image or enlarging the existing image, which will make games that are running at lower resolution a little bit a little bit more pixelated. I think I am a little bit surprised that they didn't go full 1080p on this. Like that would have been awesome had they actually made a handheld screen a proper 1080p screen, and maybe give it just enough of a spec boost where it can actually run the games at a full proper at its full docked resolution in handheld form. So yeah. Anyways, any final thoughts, everyone, before we wrap it up here?
I'm most curious actually about the dock, because I don't think we know if it's compatible with previous Switches or vice versa. Like if this new OLED Switch is compatible with the first dock, or do we know?
Someone in chat said they're compatible, but I don't know where they got that. So, I don't know if it's based on anything or not.
Yeah.
Should be compatible based on like the technical specs section, because I think the technical specs would say, because it is not listed as the Nintendo Switch OLED dock. It is Nintendo Switch dock with LAN port.
Okay.
I mean, the more I think
So-
about it, it would have to be. I mean, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be. It only makes sense though. But it'd be a pain in the ass if you go to your friend's
Yeah.
house, they have a dock, and you can't put your stupid Switch in there.
Exactly.
So I'm sure they are. I mean, it's Nintendo, so I'm not sure, but they probably are compatible.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, the
I'm-
only reason
I'm
I
pretty
ask
sure
is
it
because
is,
of the
yeah.
slightly wider Switch. If it's just slightly bigger, and so if the form factor won't quite fit, but it should. Hopefully it does. Because if there's different docks that work with different Switches, that'll get confusing fast,
Right.
and we do not want
Yeah.
anything close to the Wii U situation with this.
No, we don't. Yeah, I think it's physically wider, Tris, but not depth-wise, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it should look, there's no side walls on the dock, so it should be fine.
No, it is slightly less deep. Like in terms like the inside of the dock is slightly less deep. It's 2 inches deep instead of 2.12 inches deep, which doesn't actually change too much. It's like ever so slightly lighter. So I think it really is a matter of maybe it won't fit as comfortably into an older Switch dock, and maybe the newer Switch or the older Switches in the new dock would look slightly small in it, but they should still connect and fit properly because it's not branded as a different Switch dock. It's just Nintendo Switch dock with LAN port.
Right. Mega Nerd X donated, thank you, and says, anytime there's a revision, even if it's just cosmetic, I'm all over it. Been that way since Genesis and Super NES, love Genesis Model 3 and Super NES Model 2. I actually ended up with the Super NES Model 2, but my first one died. But yeah, I mean, I think there are going to be people who pick it up, just because it's new. It's going to be, very clean. There's not 5 years of grime on this thing. It looks sleek. It is better, especially if you're playing handheld mode. Like if you're a big handheld gamer, there's actually a lot to like about this. So I think it is an appealing product, even though some people are disappointed it doesn't have 4K. Like myself, I would love if it did. I do wonder when we'll get that, but yeah, it's a perfectly fine product. Al Bundy donated again and says, this proves that the original Switch was crowdfunding, and this is what Nintendo wanted to release in 2017. So an upgraded Switch is still on the way. I don't know if I fully follow that. I mean, this is a better version of the Switch, so I'm sure Nintendo, if they were able to, would have preferred to release this then as they would anything that's better. But maybe not, because then they can now sell it as a better Switch now and make more money that way. So, yeah. I mean, there'll be a better Switch in the future too, which, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, anyways. Well, I think, anything else, everyone?
I guess I see a few people asking if we've talked about the Pokemon graphics update yet, which, for context in there, the trailer gave us another look at Pokemon the Diamond and Pearl remakes, as well as Splatoon 3, Mario Party. It gave us a look at some upcoming games. And for Pokemon specifically, you can see, if you compare it to the original trailer, they've updated it a bit. But that's not a case of, hey, this game runs better on this Switch. That's a case of the original trailer, as indicated, was footage from a game still in development. And now development is further along. So it looks more polished. We might do like a little comparison of that, but it's not as big of a deal as people are making it seem to be. It's not something exclusive to the Switch. It is literally just, the game's continued development. So therefore it looks better because they're still working on it.
It's kind of funny that there were some tweets, including from prominent journalists, like such as for I think Mario and Rabbids, is like, this looks like it's running on a Switch Pro, and now we know, it wasn't. that's just the existing Switch, and it kind of goes to show, like, maybe we don't need a new Switch. Like existing games are still looking good on it, particularly first-party driven ones. And, I mean, there are some amazing third-party ones, too, don't get me wrong. But Nintendo really knows how to use that system, including Ubisoft, too, in this case. And, like, the fact that the games still look as good as they do, maybe we don't need a Pro. Real quick, Taker610 donated, thank you, Taker, and says another Nintendo website said the docks are interchangeable. Good to know, I believe it makes sense, so... Alright. Malachi says, no, Tom shaved! Yep.
Yeah, I reached my goal of releasing my game's demo, and then at that point the beard was coming unwieldy. I had several people say, like, maybe you can shave it now, and I agreed.
It reminds me of when my dad, he had the mustache when we were growing up, and whenever he shaved it, like, my sister would just start crying. She just, like, hated it. I don't know why, but yeah. All right. Anyways, we gotta go. Or at least I have to go. I've got a disappointment in literally 20 minutes. And it's 19 minutes. It's an 18-minute walk. So it's gonna be tight. So
Ain't that the tooth?
Yes, it is a tooth. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the chat, by the way, if you like these live discussions. We've been trying to do more of them. So let me know if you prefer them or if you prefer the on-demand ones. Let us know, or the pre-recorded ones, I should say. Otherwise, we're gonna bounce. So thanks for watching. Click the subscribe button if you haven't already. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on the Switch OLED and everything else, related to what might be an eventual Pro in the future, hopefully at some point still, and everything else Nintendo related as well. Thanks, Top Dog, appreciate it, and we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.